Okay, folks, we'll get started here. It is 7 p.m. This is the Meyersdale Borough Council Police, Personnel, and Finance Committee meetings. Those who are watching on television by YouTube, we welcome you aboard. This is our first effort at live streaming, so we'll see how it goes. But without any further ado, we'll start with the Police Committee and Mr. Chairman Ackerman. Take it away.
Well, as far as the police working, for these last 2 weeks, we only had 2 policemen that worked at all. They worked together a total of 12 hours in 2 weeks. So that's 6 hours in 1 week. So we're not getting a whole lot of time out of them. But however, they did do like 16 hours of drug task force training. They could go there, but they couldn't give us time. So, and that's about it.
Well, since the first topic, Salisbury Borough Police Protection, since the mayor isn't here, maybe we could discuss that at some time when he's here and get his input on that. If there's no objection, Mr. Chairman, would that be okay? And we move to the retaining wall?
That's fine. I could just say that, I would like to say that I spoke to Tim, and he said he sure hopes and prays to God that this council wasn't dumb enough to try to send somebody up there with what little bit of time we have here. I said, well, we'll have to just wait and see what the council votes. But I do know, and I'll tell you right now, my vote to send policemen up there when we can't even cover our own town is absolutely no. Huh?
I agree.
Well, it's on the agenda possibly for our regular meeting Tuesday night, so we could maybe discuss it. I think it would be wise or prudent to wait till
Yes.
Mayor Shane is here and see what he thinks about it. So, next item.
So I guess the next one is the Grand Street property stone retaining wall.
Yes.
So I circulated that letter. PennDOT claims that they don't have ownership of it. And I think the first option we should exercise is reaching out to our state senator and our state representative to get their assistance with that wall, unless we already have, just to see their point of view. We could most likely win the argument if we pushed it, but the question is how far do you want to push that versus, I would have to think that if we had our state senator, who has always done a good job before, and our state representative does an excellent job, that we could get some headway. Political pressure usually helps.
I do have a little information on that. Natalie called me, Nicole McCombie called me yesterday. She's PennDOT's director of engineering or whatever for this area. We had emailed her. I think I copied you on that. She called me yesterday and she said, while they can't help, that there's 3 sources of funding. There's the intermodal, there's DCED. She was sending me an email, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I think it's in my personal email or my work email, and I'm off this week. So there were 3 sources of funding. I know that the intermodal, the DCED were 2. There are 70-30 matches, and then there's a third one also. The other thing we might want to talk about is apparently under you guys, you originally talked, 8 or 10 years ago about doing a Grant Street sidewalk project, and we have some very preliminary plans that Kevin has. Steve Spokart said he wouldn't apply for any, even emergency relief or grant, if you didn't wrap it into something else. And he said, so you would do the retaining wall, the sidewalk project, wrap it all into one. Steve's obviously a business owner and getting ready to do something here uptown. He's going to try to come Tuesday night and maybe talk that through with us a little bit and see where he might direct us to get money to make those repairs.
I thought the purpose of this was just to determine ownership. I didn't know that we discussed any repairs to the retaining wall. My understanding was we were trying to find out whose responsibility this wall is because of selling the properties. Like our realtor asked us that was a a stumbling block as far as someone was interested in the properties up there where the former buildings were torn down on Grant Street, and that we were just mainly trying to determine who owns them. I thought that's all the further we went as far as ownership. Is that your understanding, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, just so everybody's we're all on the same page, there are stones falling out.
That's right, it's
the
pushing.
wall. Because one of the comeback messages from PennDOT was, although we don't own the wall, somebody needs to maintain it, which, yeah, so. But the other option is, I mean, we can go that route with Steve Spokart if you guys desire, go funding routes. The other option to move along with selling the property would be to survey that section separate of the wall if the borough is going to get stuck with that. Because in talking with Martha Albright, she doesn't believe that any buyer would buy that property with the wall. Yeah. So just something to think about.
But my question then, Mark, for you would be, isn't there like a highway? I mean, that's very, very narrow there. I mean, I just can't imagine that that wall wouldn't be
That wall
on
actually
the right of
touches-
way of the state.
It touches
So-
well, it's within the right of way.
So that would mean if it's on their property, I mean, how can they claim that we're responsible for it?
They
That's
take
why,
that position because they said they did not build it, which PennDOT didn't build it. It's a WPA wall, which goes back to the 1930s. So the argument and the only way to beat them on that is to show the Commonwealth build it, which would be obtaining the WPA records, which would have to come from the historical archive in Harrisburg, which is doable. It just depends on what route you want to go.
well, my own feeling is I just can't imagine that the borough owns that wall. I mean, as close as that is to the highway. So I don't know, I'm not a lawyer, but I would suggest, Mark, we move forward any way you recommend from a legal
One of
perspective
the reasons.
and try to find out who owns it.
One of the reasons I believe the borough doesn't own the wall is if the borough would have built that wall at any time, or even a private landowner, even as far back into the 1930s, there would have been a separate easement. There's no easement because it was the Commonwealth that built within a right of way. And they didn't need an easement at that time. Today, they would do an easement. But I can find no record at all through those properties ever showing. And even going back into the 1930s, the Commonwealth would have required something.
Well, I like your suggestion, or Karen's, that we contact our state representatives first, and then see what their response is, and then we may have to search the archives or whatever to come up with verification of who actually owns the structure.
And they would, I'm sure, be of much assistance getting those documents because
Yeah.
they would have a quicker turnaround.
The only challenge, again, is with the freezing and thawing in the winter, the bank is pushing on it. I mean, we can't let it fall and cause a wreck or it deteriorate to the point we have to close down 219 for a year again, like we did last time. We got to act quickly on this.
I agree with that, so why don't we move this ahead expeditiously? If you could maybe try to contact, will you write the letter or we have our secretary?
Either way, however you want to do it.
Would you mind doing that?
I'll take care
Is
of
that okay with everybody if we ask our solicitor, because you'll know what to put in there, and ask them for as quick a response as possible?
They're usually very good about that.
Number 3 there then.
Was there not a mirror in the past there or not?
I don't remember.
What's that?
Traffic mirror for Dale Street resident, it says on the agenda. How did that get on there?
Some guy called me, he might have called you, Patty.
Yeah, he called you.
And somebody referred him to me anyhow. I don't know if he rents off of Karen, but that alley that comes from North Street to Dale Street, he said when the Elks parking lot's full, it's rough seeing up towards Sutter's. He was wondering if we could put a mirror on the telephone pole across Dale Street from the stop sign to sort of see traffic coming down that alley.
You know, I do kind of remember a mirror being there at one
I
time.
think it was.
Does anybody else?
I think so, I believe.
Well, you're head of the streets committee. If you feel the street committee would like to make that recommendation, are you in favor of it?
I mean, I'm not against it. I never really paid much attention. I don't go out that alley a whole lot, but I mean, if,
I'm sure if there's a lot of stuff going on.
Just to put a mirror up there is not that expensive,
yeah,
you know.
yeah. I know sometimes the Elks parking lot is pretty full. So.
Yes. And like I said, it's not that expensive.
And this is right where Meagers used to live.
Across.
That
the-
telephone pole right
Yeah.
there.
Mhm.
Is that allowed to put stuff on telephone poles?
There was one there before.
Whose telephone pole is it?
Isn't that the
I
electric
think
company?
it's electric.
We'll worry about it when something happens.
Ask for freaking things.
Would you put that on the agenda, Patty, please, for our regular meeting if it's not already on? Maybe that could be under the streets committee portion, you think?
It's under there, under police.
Oh, the
Yeah,
regular, okay.
It's on the agenda under.
Actually, we have a copy of it here, okay. Anything else for police, Ron?
Nope, not that I have.
Anybody else for police? Ginny, personnel.
Really haven't had time to do job descriptions, have you?
We submitted those to
Yeah.
Mark.
Oh,
Karen-
that's right, I'm sorry.
Karen had submitted those to me, I think, last month. And what it is, it's a job description for the street foreman, or actually it says field staff member, and I believe it's field staff foreman. And the suggestions, and I could pass them around, I think most of the differences I've saw with this compared to the 1986 job description deal with the parks, because, and Patty, correct me if I'm wrong, in 1986, the borough would have had the sewer, and they also had the sewer plant. So there were some things in there that are no longer a part of it. But from what I can tell, and I don't know if Karen had a chance to look at the older one, if you did or not, but it's really not that much different. These are the two that she sent to me. And when Patty sent the job description, she also sent when they were enacted, and so I don't have to question that at all.
So this is, you wrote this? Or
Mark
we're-
gave us some samples to go through.
Yeah, I took some things from offline.
So is this what, have you seen this?
I have, I do have really.
Well, my suggestion would be, let's let Patty copy these and distribute them, email them to everybody. We can either review them and discuss them at our upcoming meeting, or maybe council would like a little bit more time to review this. After everyone's read it, we could discuss it at the personnel committee meeting next October and then act on it at the October meeting. Is that going too far into the future?
So everybody
If we have to get a
understands.
copy of these, we'll
Yes.
pass this down.
So everybody understands the process, and I can email it out too, so you have it electronically. Once the council agrees upon what those job descriptions are, there is the past job description. I then send those to Roland at the union, and he'll review those and give us his feedback. And then we're able to go forward from there. I didn't see anything in those job descriptions that really sparked anything, anything disturbing. It's mainly the park, that park and this park. I don't know if in the past, if the street crews had maintained this park down here or not, but that's really the only,
The Dove Boy would be the one that's added
okay.
in the Uptown Park, which is new.
Well, I just meant
Why-
looking at the old job description. I don't think it talks about parks at all, so.
Okay.
But I think what you said is we have to review it first.
Yes.
And then we approve it and let Roland take a look at it for the union and
Yep.
the employees also. So is that okay? How do you want to handle this, Jenny, as far as the time frame for this?
That's fine, just so we can all get a copy of it and decide, see what we are feeling.
And then maybe discuss it at the October committee meetings and then do something. Is that okay with everybody?
Yeah.
Great. Anything else for personnel?
Want me to take it off the agenda then?
Oh, wait a second, I don't know this is for personnel or like, this might be something totally different. Tom Deeds stopped me last night at the Elks and said about getting the flags back up. So I didn't know, what do we stand on that, or?
I'm gonna have to make myself a note. We'll have to ask Brian if he could put when did they want them, Labor Day's passed, do they want them up for a spiff? Veterans Day or?
Veterans Day, I know for sure.
So he would like them up now, like if he could do it this week or next
possible,
week?
If possible, yeah, they'd like to have them up now.
Okay, I will contact, one of us will.
I guess, yeah.
Okay. And then some weeding down at the pavilion, you said that needs, I'm gonna write that on the list here too.
Jenny, since, one question. You might want to tell when everything's going to be for like light up night and all that. Because last year we didn't get the Christmas decorations up in time for Small Business Saturday. They weren't up for Thanksgiving. So we might need a plan to get them up.
Yeah, we will need, because it'll be the Saturday after Thanksgiving, November 30th. We're working with, the festival's doing something because of the 150th. So they're going to have like more of an adult, old-fashioned Christmas there. And then they'll do sometime through the afternoon, and then it'll just go into like last year, up here in the middle of town. So definitely that date's, is November 30th, so we'll have.
November 30th is the big day in Meyersdale, that's a Saturday evening,
Yes, well, it's a
Like
Saturday
afternoon and into evening, so that's great.
And the GI and Corner Cup's on board, Wayne Conklin's on board, Santa and Mrs. Santa. I haven't gotten to speak to the new minister at the
I met
house stuff.
They're
Did
really
you?
nice.
Okay,
They live in Ohio.
I haven't.
They were at
gotten
the
to talk
GI
to them.
on Tuesday. Nice young family.
But I'm sure that they'll go. And then we would like to, when it's not the live nativity, we're going to do one of the, what I want to say.
Light up plastic.
Yeah, light up plastic nativities. So there's something in that at all times. So November 30th is a big, big day for us, so we'll need everything done before then.
The park decorated.
Sounds nice. Anything else personnel?
No.
Okay, the third committee then is the finance. Terry's the chairman of that. So Terry, we have actually a long agenda, 9 or 10 items. So take it away, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, the 2025 budget, proposed budget. I guess everybody had a copy of it.
Patty, did you have anything to say first? Did we want to go through page by page, or does anyone have any questions on it? You wanted to make,
Highlighted areas.
well, whatever council feels that you kind of presented it for us, so I would say is that okay with you, Terry?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay, the first thing, February 24th of this year, the general fund gave the Meyersdale Area Merchants Association $1,000 for the farmer's market. Now, there was no farmer's market. Should they be returning that $1,000 to the borough?
I'm sorry, who did we give the money to?
To the Meyersdale Area Merchants Association.
I think the first question would be if they intend to do the farmer's market this year. And then if they do that, if that would be their answer, council would then, and I totally get what Patty's talking about, the council would have to vote to earmark that for this coming year so that it's noted, because you're right, if they didn't have a farmer's market this year and it was given that $1,000, there needs to be some trail of what's going on, like checks and balance. If they plan on doing it this coming year, the council can vote and move that forward to that. In other words, it was already paid, right?
Yeah.
So if you know what I mean, because
I think the simplest thing would be just if we could make a motion that we, like Mark said, just kick it down to next year, if that's okay with everybody. Maybe they can get a farmer's market together for next summer, 2025, if that's permissible to do it.
yeah.
What do you think,
And I
Karen?
think we should also note that for our light up night last year through Small Business Saturday, I think they gave us $1,000 or more, brought up the attendance a lot, and then donated $500 of that back.
They
So-
are planning on helping us this year. They didn't have an exact amount, but they are planning on helping us. She said at least 1,000 is what I was told. So I don't know how that affects this being budgeted for that.
Well,
Well,
was
it's a
earmarked-
designated fund. It has to, it
Okay,
either has to be
Okay.
used exactly how that fund is,
okay.
or it has to be changed. And there's some things you can't change, but that one I think you can. Yeah.
I would not want to ask them for the money back. Like you said, Jenny, as kind as they've been, and
They are.
I'm a member, you know,
Yeah.
the merchants, conflict of interest maybe. But I would say if we could maybe, would we have to make that as a motion?
And just so you know,
Tuesday
because we're
night.
live, it's not actually a conflict of interest unless you're getting a direct gain from it.
Yeah, which
So,
I'm not. Thank you.
What was your question when I cut you off?
No, I just said, should we make this motion, or just, will we incorporate this as part of the budget, or do we need a separate motion when we approve the budget? How you want to handle that, first item with $1,000?
It should go with the vote on the budget, if the budget is gonna be accepted, because that's gonna be an addition to or change to the budget. Am I correct on that, Patty?
Yeah, there's nothing in the farmer's market for, to like give to them this for 2025.
Let me ask you that. If we do that, is it gonna cause a budget issue from the standpoint of like auditing, that if we have it on 2025, but it was already paid in 2024, are you able to like show that it was already paid or not, or, you know what I mean? Because,
Well, it's already showing this year that it was paid,
okay,
so if they still have it in their funds, I guess there would be no reason why they couldn't just use it next year for the farmer's market.
what I just meant is if council doesn't designate additional funds, we'll just have to make sure that it's just marked that those funds were already paid.
And maybe just do it this way, if they don't do a farmer's market next year, and figure out what you're gonna do
Okay.
with $1,000 you gave them.
But maybe if council's okay with this and the solicitor, just put a little asterisk and, that no money this year, that there was no farmer's market, and just like we said, make a little notation that the money is still in their possession, we're hoping a 2025 farmer's market. Is that all right, sir?
Yes.
Okay. Under the revenues on page 1, the investment cash, there's gonna, before the end of the year, there's gonna have to be at least $200,000 transferred from that money market account, or we're gonna be running out of money. I'm down to $20,000 now in the general fund. And I didn't know how you wanted you don't wanna make motions every time you want to transfer money from that account into the general fund checking.
Can we back up to the first page though, on all the budget stuff? Did we account for the ambulance, what we're gonna have to pay next year?
Yeah, I'll get to that.
Okay,
What you could do to answer Patty's question, you either can vote to do it as a lump sum, or you can vote to have a running balance. In other words, whatever the number should be to keep in that account. And that would allow Patty then to make those transfers as needed. It's all, it's simpler than making a vote every month to transfer funds.
If we would, hypothetically, when we get down to $20,000, if council would give you the green light to transfer either 50,000 or 100,000, whatever council would decide, a certain amount, and then that would be just an ongoing motion. Of course, we're going to see it every month in the financial report. And what would you recommend that would make it easy for you?
Yeah, I just wanted some approval to do that.
But what do you think? Like when we get down to 20,000, what does council feel? Like, should we give her, just move 100,000 over? 50,000?
50, usually 50.
Oh, I think at least 50, Karen,
50 to
because,
75,000. I would
because
think.
she's gonna be,
That's not gonna last long.
No.
But you'll
I'm saying
have money
100,000.
coming in, right?
Not a lot of it, not a lot,
Not until the,
until the taxes
Yes,
come.
it's-
well, I say
I like
we make it
her.
at least 50,000.
50's fine.
Are you okay with that, Patty? That, because you're the one, if when you get down to 20,000, you just ought, and you can report to council at the next meeting during your report, that we just transfer 50,000 over.
so we're gonna make a motion at the meeting then to do that, what you're saying?
Yeah, we can't make any decisions tonight. This is suggestions in committee meeting, but that would be something that we could put on the agenda. So there's no objection to that 50,000 when we're down to 20,000.
And that'll be ongoing, so if she has to do it,
Right.
you know, it's not like we have to vote every time.
But at least then we're in an interest.
Yeah.
Okay, then page 2, under general government, rents and royalties, 342,046. That was rents from the municipal authority. I didn't put anything in there because looks like they're gonna be moving soon. And I didn't think it would be appropriate to put something in there that you're gonna get revenue when you're not.
Understood.
And then 355,005, the general municipal pension state aid. That figure could change because you have to base it off of what you get this year. And we probably won't get that till sometime in the end of September or October. But that's just a wash. It's in and out.
I have one question. So the school is not here anymore? Are they gone upstairs?
I haven't heard anybody up there now. Whether
My understanding is that they're not going to be using the facility.
So, yeah, I've been told in the last week by two people from that church, and then, I can't remember who the other person was off the top of my head, that their intent is to no longer use this. I don't believe they have a school now. I think the students that were up here, unless somebody knows different, are either on cyber school or attending another school. So, yeah.
They told me they were gonna go cyber school.
Are we able to get into that room? Do we have a key to get in? So,
Did they take their stuff?
I don't know. I haven't been upstairs. I don't know.
let me ask Brian if he would go up and do a survey and see what all's up in there. He would be able to get in with, do you have a key or
Yeah.
you both do? And Brian does?
There were little cubicles up there when they were having their classes, so. I don't know. what
For
else.
those their cubicles they brought.
Yeah, that was all their furnishings.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, page 3, 392,010. That's where I was showing the $200,000 that we eventually would be taking from the money market into the general fund. Donations to the police department, that's 387,002. In 2024, $3,000 was received from the American Legion. There's zero money left there. The funds were used for police equipment, supplies, and the last $823.54 was used towards the body cameras.
We'll hear on the LSA grant either on the 17th or on November 17th, just so you know.
And then page 4, subclass fire. The state fireman's relief, that's amount we get every year. It's from insurance proceeds. That's just a guesstimate from what last year's figures were. It could change because we may get more, may get less, but it's in and out, comes into here and goes right to the fire department.
Okay. And just so I get this right, the ordinance that we have with the insurance when a place burns down, right? That, you said that they contacted you concerning the one on Broadway,
Yes.
the lower Broadway, I
Yes,
guess.
the
Okay.
insurance, the
Does-
owner's insurance company notified us, which they're supposed to do, because we're listed in the DCED on their website or whatever,
Got you.
that we have that ordinance. But if your damage is less than, I think, $6,000, it doesn't apply.
So leading up to that, then we haven't heard anything from the property, at least like the corners and center in Broadway. We've never heard anything from them.
Never.
Okay.
I only assumed they didn't have any insurance on it.
And that has nothing to do with this. This is actual funding from the Commonwealth.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, let's see where we at now. The expenditures on page 1. The dental, vision, and Blue Cross Blue Shield, 2024 was lower due to no current chief of police. And 2025, there was no chief, I didn't add any chief of police in there. 427, the Meyersdale events category, that was added, and I put $2,000 in there for 2025. So it'd be $2,000 of general fund monies towards the Meyersdale Events Committee.
Where is that?
Events.
What I was thinking, Patty, if we could raise that to 3,000, and then if they have access, Jenny, you're the chairperson now, to the Lucenti Fund, which is Patty estimates is about 7,000, that would give you guys $10,000 of a budget to work with. Is that enough? Because you asked for 7,500.
Yeah, it should be, as long as some wild prices.
Right.
You know, like with the porta potties and all that stuff, but no, 10,000 should be.
I mean,
Would
this,
you consider
the
that?
budget before was, before Tom and I were on. And I just, I know you're working hard for the events you do. And I just think if council would be approving, if we would make that 3,000, Patty, and then the total, we would, I'm not sure how we do in the budget, but it would be total of about 10,000 if you get with the Lucenti Fund. But that's a little bit
Is
sketchy.
the Lucenti Fund likely that could be fund? It comes from a
The state.
percentage of the investment, the earnings. Okay.
Now, the thing is, you're gonna increase that by 3,000, you have to tell me where you wanna either increase the revenue by 1,000 or take away from the expenditures by 1,000, what category? Otherwise, it's not gonna balance.
Could we take it out of the, could we just take 1,000 out of the fireworks fund for now to make it balance? Instead of 12,000, it'd be 11,000, because we had to ante up for that anyways this year. Will that work?
Well,
No.
further on down there, I have in there transfers to the fireworks, because this year you went over by almost 3,000, so I put 3,000 in there. So if you take from that, then you're still, now you're $2,000 short.
Well, then maybe it would be simpler just to leave it as it is, like Patty has it. But we're only talking $1,000, Jenny. Could you make it on 9 instead of the
Okay.
10?
We'll try.
Just to keep things simple then.
Okay.
Is there any objection to that?
Well, and don't you have you have $1,000 from clearance, and you have
Money for-
500 from Jody, and I know, the Crane girl gave us money too. So I mean, there's some other money out there probably to make up that other $1,000.
Yeah, and that's all earmarked. If they give a donation, that has to go to the Community Events Committee, so. Okay, Patty, what's next?
500,003, that's a transfer to the fireworks fund. That's $3,000 estimated to be transferred to the fireworks fund if the fireworks go over 12,000. Maybe next year, people could step up and try to get people to donate more.
How much was donated
It
this
was,
year?
it was almost,
9,900,
Yeah,
I think it was, almost
it's like-
10,000.
almost $3,000 short.
That's
Because
what I
didn't,
thought.
I
it
didn't
was.
drain the whole account to keep it open.
Mark asked, do you know what was actually donated though? I thought it was 9,900.
Let's see here.
Yeah, I think
It didn't quite click over to 10,000.
$9,635.
There you go.
part of that was a lot of people thought it was gonna be 10 and not 12, when they were donating.
Yeah. Unless you wanna take the fireworks down to 10,000.
No.
I'd say let's leave it 12 and
That's
see
a
if,
huge event for this town. We
If-
pull in people from Kaiser, people came, Rockwood, I mean, all over the place. It's a good thing.
Okay, page 4, subclass buildings, capital repairs, 400,373, almost down the bottom of the page. The estimated remainder is 7,293.20, and that was for the 500 for the police department mini split, and 2,293.20 for the balance on the council room mini split. That's why that figure was that much.
Mhm.
Page 5 is police. The police wages, I didn't go in depth with that because I didn't figure I was gonna waste my time not knowing how much they work, so I just popped in the same figure you had last year.
So the actual amount that was used for wages last year, or this year so far, I guess, is 28,000 to 351.64.
That's what I'm estimating until the end of the year.
Oh, okay, that's for the end.
But the
As
actual
of-
is only 12,000, right?
Yeah, as of,
Okay, I see that.
August 15th.
August 15th, it was 12,000 something.
So
And
you're
I
up.
estimate the rest of the year, $16,044. They're only working,
He said,
Anywhere from
6 hours a week.
3 hours to 8 hours a week. So they're never gonna use it.
and then 400 to 20.
Operating
Under
expenses.
police, yeah. Let's see here. As of 8/15, they're at $7,080.96. These figures were for the InSync program, has something to do with the cameras, and then those body cameras, $5,117.46. And next year, the InSync is increasing to $2,025 every year. That's, I guess it's a maintenance fee.
Mhm.
And then page 6, under fire, that's the fireman's relief again. You have to put that figure in the revenues and in the expenditures.
And that goes directly into the,
When it comes in, it goes directly to, you only have so many days, 30 days, I think, to get it to the fire department. And then the ambulance, 540. I put nothing in there from the general fund because we'll get that in the LST fund.
Question. So under 400, 354, the workers' comp, we didn't pay that this year so far?
I just got the bill the other day.
Okay.
Yeah.
It just comes late.
It comes in September. The other ones come due in May.
it's a nice
So we
annual
pay-
premium.
So we pay their electricity too, their electric bill over there? Or what is that?
No,
Under
that's the fire
361.
sirens.
Oh, okay.
That's for the fire side?
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, page 7, under streets, 400, 300. Other services, that includes $1,200 for street sweeping for next year. And 400, 740, capital purchase of equipment. I just figured what the balance of the truck would be to try to get that paid off, and that was permissible. So till the end of next year, we will owe nothing for borough equipment.
Mhm. Good idea, Patty.
Page 8, The playground, 400, 462. The estimated remainder, $3,760, is for the security system at the borough shed for the playground.
Which they were working down there today.
Is the electricity that's on that, does that include like the charger up at the park, or is that separate?
Let's see, where are we at?
I was just trying to
No,
get an idea of
That's
usage.
all playground.
Okay.
What
Now,
about, we have to do repairs down there?
At-
The park, the playground. Do we have that in here somewhere? Do we know what it's gonna cost to get the doors replaced and whatever's messed up down there?
No, I don't have anything. I think Brian was gonna get Bernie Whitehead or who's his partner? Bruce Nepper, to give him a price. Whether they did it or not, I don't know.
So we don't have any money in for a grant writer for this next year.
For the other part.
Do we have anything anywhere for a grant writer? They charge us very minimally. I think the biggest bill we got, and Patty, correct me if I'm wrong, we paid, the first one they did for free, then I think like 400 and 600. I mean, I don't think we paid much at all for that, did we?
I don't think so, no.
But we might want to have some money in there for a grant or two.
I thought I saw grant writing.
It's on page 8.
No, but I
And that
thought
was another
I
one
thought she had it
before
There
that.
might be another place.
There's the grant, right?
Well, could you add $1,000, Patty, or 500 and
I
take it
think
from
that-
someplace else?
That area was like for an in-house grant writer. There's something else in here somewhere about grant writing.
I know I saw grant writing.
Okay. As long as we have some money.
Right here, it's on page number 1, 400-312.
How much do we have?
Grant writing, she had a budget last year, 3,000, year to date is 900 spent, and there's a budget for next year, 3,000.
So we're good.
I knew I saw it.
Okay.
What page is that, Mark?
Page 1. Do you have a
Thank you.
purpose?
Yeah, very good.
Okay, now, move on to the refuse account, expenditures, page 1. 400, 300, other services, the estimated remainder is $1,500, and I just called Jackie and asked her roughly what 2 dumpsters would run, and she said around $1,500. If you decide that's what you're gonna do. Now, Clarence might have got different figures from Chris, I don't know.
I just want to put one plug in. I don't know how everybody else felt, but I think that the back to school yard sale event went really well. And I was really pleased. I mean, almost every street that you drove on that Saturday had a sign up. And we put in the flyer specifically that by 6 o'clock that night, all the signs had to be down because it just becomes litter, and they were. So I think that was a very no cost, good thing to do.
Okay, then the highway aid revenues, 355,002. I have $74,000 budgeted for 2025, and that may change. You just never know what the state's gonna give us.
What was the number?
355,002.
Okay, I see it.
And then, under expenditures, 400, 439, repaving and reconstruction. The estimated remainder for 2024, I used the actual 180,000, because you're gonna have to make a decision at the council meeting what you're gonna do, if you're just gonna pay it all, or if you're gonna not pay that extra 10,000. And, if you.
That's
choose-
actually on our agenda to discuss tonight on the Finance Committee, just to get a earmark, a bellwether of how council members feel. But that's number 5, so we're coming to that.
But if, some point, if the council chooses not to pay the full balance, then these figures can change. I'll change those.
Patty, the 355-003, the state road turn back.
Uh-huh,
Did-
that's Myers Avenue,
Okay,
that portion of Myers Avenue
yep, that's what I wondered.
that we took back years ago. Then we'll go on down to the Leck Fund.
What does that mean?
State road turnback, when the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania has a road that they maintain, and they obligate the municipality to take that road over, which isn't always
Not a
nice.
very good idea.
Yeah, they pay a certain amount for a period of time towards the maintenance.
What they did on Myers Avenue, that portion from Cherry Street down to the monument, they repaved it, made it real pretty, and then gave it back to the borough, and we get $832 to maintain that road. So at some point, when that needs repaved, the borough's gonna have to pay that. And and then it's no longer a state highway, it's a borough street. They wanted to give us Broadway too several years ago, and they decided, no, they weren't gonna do that.
Lower Broadway.
Yeah.
Now, you said the Lecklenby, what did you just, where are we going to now?
Leck-
So we're gonna skip flood control, there's nothing there to report? Flood control,
Well, no, because every year we just put 10,000 from the general fund into the flood control.
and then the contingency pavilion rental, so we're just gonna skip those and, is
Yeah,
that
there's
what?
not really much to tell there.
Okay, good.
Okay, 400,377, beautification of the borough. $7,500, the estimated remainder would be for the obligation that you come up with for the Christmas lights, if that happens this year.
To go to Lecklenby Fund, you have to skip way down.
I think that's
There.
gonna be
Well, turn it off there.
maybe spring.
And then Frank Lucent, 387,000 revenues from the estate. $3,500 was estimated for the remainder of this year, which should be received in November or December. Then in 2025, budgeted estimated at $3,500 to be received in November or December of the next year. So when you're looking at your budget or your figures, it's not like you have $7,000 laying there. It's throughout the whole year till you get your final, till you get,
But you also don't know what it's gonna,
and you never know, it could be 3,500, it could be 2,500.
but it always comes in the fourth quarter. And then, okay.
And then what all can that be used for? The Frank Lucenti fund?
You can use that for whatever you want, it's not.
It's not earmarked for any certain, okay,
No.
okay.
Okay, I wrote a note here, let's see. Use 2024 events team budget figures to estimate the 316. Remainder expenses, $935, which is the balance in the Lucent Fund. There is a balance of $2,215.26 in the general fund that was received as donations, Dunking booth, and the donation bucket in 2024 is available for you guys to use. And that's what Karen was saying about some of the monies that were left from donations. That's what Karen was saying about some of the monies that were left from donations.
I was just trying to see what.
So you're
what-
watching
No, I just turned it on to see if it was working. It's working, Dan.
And then farmer's market, the 392,001, I didn't put anything in there, like I said, because they didn't have farmer's market this year.
That was good, Patty.
Fireworks fund, 387,000. Donations, estimated those at 8848, but, if we get out there and ask for donations, we maybe would get enough to, cover the whole thing. And then, it also shows 392,001, the transfer from the general fund to the $3,000. But if we would get enough donations, you wouldn't have to transfer from the general.
We said this before with the fireworks, but you go back 10 years ago, and a lot of people that were sizable donators aren't here anymore, and so I think that's part of the problem. We just don't have the
And we
people that would donate in the past.
sending out like a note with the garbage bills. That didn't help either.
I agree with Karen. I think it's a good thing for the community and, people look forward to it. I think it's a good
Any way
thing.
possible, we should stick.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the local services tax, 400,000 is salary of police. We didn't use any of that money this year. And what I put in was contribute to the ambulance, the $25,000. Use 25,000 of that. And if you do get a chief of police, there'd be some money in there for that. If not, through the next year, you'd have enough for, you wouldn't have to raise any taxes. You wouldn't have to have a per capita tax, have any increase in real estate tax. But that's just a suggestion.
Before we
It is-
put 25,000, I'd like to know what Salisbury, Garrett, the townships, all them, what all they gonna give?
It's all based on
Pardon?
population or,
I can't hear you.
Census, yeah.
It's all based on the census.
I know, but
They
I'd
all
like to-
have a
I'd like
dollar
to know what it is.
We have a one-page spreadsheet on that.
I'd like to see it.
yeah, they have that information. So it's legitimate to take the local service tax
Oh,
money
yeah, no,
and
it's
put it
very
right for the
legitimate.
ambulance, yeah.
Yeah, that's.
You can't just keep getting that and stockpile it. and
No.
not use it.
Well, I will tell you, once we get the ambulance set aside at the, Jeff, you were there, at the April ambulance meeting. I mean, the fire department has already said they would like more help from us. I'm just throwing that out there. They could use some help too.
Well,
So
that could be next year,
Correct.
we'll get this up and running
Correct.
first and then
I
we can
agree.
meet with the fire department and certainly
Yeah.
we can't neglect these important organizations.
No. Is LST, that's for fire, police, and ambulance? Okay.
Yep.
There's a, in the front of your book, there's a breakdown of what all the accounts could be used for.
Okay, good.
So far, so good. Patty, what's next?
Okay, the last
This
one,
has to be the most boring thing in the world, going through a budget.
Oh, I can think of words.
chocolate is yes. Building renovation fundraiser, expenditures, 400,316. Estimated remainder, $10,000, and I just estimated for the remainder of 2024 for volleyball nets and miscellaneous, maybe painting or whatnot, and then maybe there would be $2,925 remaining for 2025.
Like we said, a budget is, you can go over budget, you can go under budget. It's just something that we have to do. And Patty, I think, what, we've been doing this, basically the same thing you've been doing it for 40 years.
If you're fiscally responsible, you can go over the budget, but if you're already at the max.
I have a
You know what I
question.
mean?
Under,
Yeah, you can't spend more than what you have.
under 400,229, it says food for human consumption, Easter and Christmas, $700.
Where are you at?
I am under the community center fund. 400,229.
All consumed.
Yeah, that was always, when Marty Ann and them like did the Easter egg hunt and all, they would use money from the community center fund for that. But I didn't put any budget figures in there since you're using Let Can Be Fund, or not Let Can Be, Lucent and whatever the borough put towards the events committee.
Terry, what do you think of it, Mr. Chairman?
400,229.
For the budget,
Yeah.
I think it sounds good.
Would anybody object then if we just recommend, present this Tuesday night? It has to be advertised. And then, like we always do, and then we would adopt it in October and we're done with it. Is there any objection to that? Well, Patty, I think you did a wonderful job on this, and thank you for putting all the effort in that.
It's nice having the binders on
I bet it was fun. Cool.
Did you, Ron?
Yeah.
Did you,
It's
Ron?
fun collating.
Did you, bud?
Yeah, I did it all at home.
Sure.
All right, the next one will be the park bench in memory of Kristen Martin.
I was up by the park and right down from the Chargers, there would be a spot right here and the gazebo's here, and then right here on Center Street, there's like a spot. If that would be no objection to anyone, we could see if they would, you know.
Who wants to pay for this? Is it, how did this,
Is Louis paying?
No.
I mean, is it a donation from
It's a
someone? or
donation from
Is this to be
someone.
anonymous or?
Well, I'm really not sure. I personally got a text from Mandy Martini, and she asked me if there was any way possible that they could purchase a bench to be put up there. And I said, well, I'd have to see how much room's up there and if it was okay with everybody else. And
Patty, do you have the details on where those came from so we can get one that matches?
I think I do.
because that's what they said. They, I guess, were just totally in the dark where to even begin to get one if it wasn't.
And the
approved.
cost.
And the cost and everything involved.
I'm gonna say it was close, $3,500, something like that.
Yeah, that's right.
But if there's, I mean, I don't want to crowd the
Oh, I know that one.
gazebo, but when you're up there for these events, like these bands and whatnot, there are people, sitting on the grass because there's no benches or, everybody's bringing their chairs. It would be nice to have another bench, especially with her, because she did a lot for the community. She was so involved and she just, her personality just oozed kindness.
Everybody loved her.
Yep.
Yeah.
She just
That's for
oozed
sure.
kindness.
Well, it doesn't sound like anybody's opposed. Maybe we could put that on our agenda for the regular meeting, Patty, unless you have it on, just, we'll make a vote to approve that. I can't remember. I could look at it here too, for crying out loud.
Yeah, it's on there under new business Memorial Park bench.
Very good.
All right, bank accounts for number 3.
Yes, Jeff had asked me to contact FNB to see if they would be willing to give us a little better interest rates. And they said that they could convert most all of our accounts into higher percentage yield, like the checking account would be 1.5, going from 0.50 to 1.50. Some of the other ones here, they would convert to money market accounts up as of, with interest rates of 4.00, but then you're limited to how many transactions you can have in a month. And most of these accounts we don't have a lot of transactions in a month period.
One of the accounts would be the contingency fund and the general checking. Is there anything else? Any other
Yeah,
accounts?
The general fund contingency, the fireworks account, the Leckambie, the flood control, the highway aid. Those would all go up to 4.00. The local service tax account, the community center account, the grant funds checking, but I don't think we're really
There's
allowed to
certain
get.
grants that are allowed to do
Yeah,
that, yeah.
yeah.
There's a lot that don't.
Well, let me ask you this, are all of these accounts currently with FNB?
Yes,
Okay.
That's great.
so, that's something you can decide if you want to do that, and they said it's just as simple as changing the name of it at the bank, it's no big deal.
Well, why wouldn't we want to go with a higher interest rate?
Right.
That's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll make that motion. We'll keep those accounts with FNB and we'll ask them to switch it over to 4%, which is actually pretty good compared to what
Yeah.
we're getting on our money market fund. Is that right? It's
Yes.
equal to or a little bit better than what we have at Somerset.
Yeah, it's a little better.
So, Okay,
I just wish FNB would do more for the community.
Yeah.
That's the only thing, that's my only little beef there.
Okay, transfer from general fund money market to general fund checking. We already
We
discussed
talked
that.
about that earlier.
Yeah, so the next one would be the paving cost overrun. So me and Brian met with the guy from PennDOT. I mean, we did learn some things that I don't think we knew beforehand on the bidding process, but he said when you approve the contract, there's a unit price on there. I guess that's per ton. So we approved the price per tonnage, and they went off of that price. They went off of his estimate of how many tons it would take for that unit price. So they overran it by 100 ton, I think it was. So he told us, he said, you can fight it, but he said, if it would be up to him, he would just pay it. He said, it's something, they used they used the materials. He said they should have really, when they was getting close to the limit of, say, it would bid out of 2,000 ton, I don't know what it was, but they should have said, hey, we're nearing the limit of what
So,
the contract was. Do you want to cut out a street?
so what you're saying is, on one hand, they should have notified the borough that they were gonna do an overrun.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, even though we used the PennDOT form for bidding in how they want it, I guess we should specify to them that the total amount we approved, which was that lump sum amount, right? And I know what he's saying, but I get it.
I mean, he said we could have, in hindsight, we could have went back and said, hey, how are you coming on your tonnage on our part? And on their part, they should have said, we're getting near the limit. So,
you know what, just because somebody from the Commonwealth says something,
Yeah.
doesn't mean it's true. I mean, I know in my business, when I'm gonna do a job for somebody professionally, I give them a price ahead of time. And then if my lab fees go up, that's,
I mean,
or if it costs, go ahead,
he
Terry.
said, he said we can do what we want. He don't have, anything in the game. So he's coming Wednesday after the meeting. We just gotta let him know what we decide.
I just can't vote to give them the money. You know what, they didn't come down here and they didn't even come down to look at the jobs beforehand.
And we had other bids.
Well,
Yeah, I was
that's-
gonna
and if-
say, where would we stand with Keystone?
Well, we would be
Line?
over, Keystone would have gotten the bid then.
I mean, he did say Keystone couldn't come back, but he did say on our next, he said it was in the contract that each company should have inspected the site before they placed the bid, which they didn't. So if that happens in the future, we can reject that bid. Even if they would be the lowest bidder, we can,
But you can also use
I
that.
I don't ever remember Keystone Line coming back saying, and we need another $12,000. Whatever they bid,
Yeah.
that's what it was.
and it's like he said, say they accepted this bid per tonnage and say they used less than what was in the bid. Well, they're not gonna come back and say, well, you can knock 20,000 off.
I think, obviously, we have, looking towards the Tuesday meeting, I think we should open it up for discussion there, and then if, we'll make I'll say, could we have a motion to pay the excess? And if there's no motion, then it dies. If somebody makes a motion, there's a second, then we do a roll call vote. And we'll make that decision then at the meeting, but I think we've had some good discussion here. It seems like there might be a number of people
We
that
just
aren't in
don't,
favor of paying it.
I'm not in favor of paying it, but at some point, what are our legal fees gonna be? Should we settle and say, look, you're 10 over, we'll meet you halfway and call it a day, instead of, are we gonna have 15,000 in legal expenses and we might still have to pay them another 10?
What we could do is if they want to make an issue out of it and really push it, at that time, we can have an executive session, discuss that alternative, if council doesn't pay it. And we can settle, there's nothing that prevents you from settling at any point, we're coming to that. I mean, to be quite honest, I think the council would have a different viewpoint if this company would have said, look, we had an overrun And, instead of charging you 100% of the overrun.
Yeah,
You
that
know,
is halfway.
yeah, I mean, that might change the attitude a little bit, maybe. Maybe not. Yeah.
We can talk about it then, I guess, one, two. Amusement tax devices.
So I know Patty, I know she'd sent out I believe, we have an ordinance that deals with the actual taxing of the machines. We do not have a restriction in our zoning on those machines. Now, the one thing I would have to, if council had a desire to have that restriction, one thing we're gonna have to be very well aware of is the organizations that already have those machines will have to be dealt with. And what I mean by that is there's certain things that you could do to protect those type of organizations because they are a nonprofit versus a for-profit. So usually what you see restrictions not only to the amount of time they're allowed to be open, because some of those places, like in Somerset, they've had issues with being open all night long, and there's all kinds of fun
Well,
things.
the one uptown now is 24 hours.
Yeah, I get you. And the other one is to not be near daycares, any kind of school, churches, and those kind of things.
Well, I thought I read in that ordinance that it prohibits any machines from gambling in the borough. Isn't that in there somewhere? Did I dream I read that in the ordinance?
I don't know. I have to read it again. Off the top of my head.
Does anybody have a copy of the ordinance? I don't know. Did we print those off?
Patty's probably said it to me 10 times now.
I gave everybody.
But was that in our-
everybody an email.
I know I read it. I absolutely read it.
I was gonna say, I might have emails, but I don't know if I printed anything.
And don't we have to pay a fee every year?
Yes.
It's $25.
But do
$25
the ones
for every
like,
coin-operated machine.
but like at the Legion and the Elks, do they have to pay too, or is it
Yes.
just everybody?
Anybody that has a coin-operated machine.
Pool tables, jukeboxes,
Yep, jukeboxes,
any kind of
tables,
gaming.
Rubber machine.
coin-operated.
Did you make a copy of that or did you just email it
I
to
think
us?
I just emailed it.
I read it, but I thought, Patty, do you recall, isn't at the end of that ordinance, it says something about you're not allowed to have, these machines can't be for gambling.
Amusement tax ordinance.
Is this ours?
Yes. No, Patty sent one from a different borough because
Thank you, Mr. Smarty.
she wanted to know that. Let's see. So this is the regulation licensing of coin-operated amusement devices, which you might have a debate if
Maybe
those
they
are.
don't abuse it very much.
It's towards the end of the ordinance.
It says in the second paragraph, licensed coin-operated amusement devices which can be and are frequently used for illegal gambling. So that probably covers that type of device when it's legally used. Power to regulate devices, blah, blah, blah.
Can it say illegal because the Commonwealth Court has not ruled if they're legal or illegal? That's why they're not.
Well, the reason why it's called illegal in here and you'd have to go back through the history of who actually, or whom was the governing body that was enabled by the General Assembly when it comes to those machines. So up until a little bit prior to COVID, those machines as a whole, if they were not licensed and they didn't have a casino style license, or you were I don't even think for a long time that most of your nonprofits were allowed to have them. So they were actually considered illegal at that point, and any non-licensed machine is still considered illegal. So,
And that ordinance was written back in the 80s.
yeah.
Yes.
What's happened since then?
Why are we looking at this? Was it because we think we're getting too many of these machines in town? Or why are we even discussing this?
Yeah,
I
so,
was approached by different people who said that there are people coming into town looking at properties for that purpose only, to put these machines in. And I'd rather not, personally, I would rather not have a town full of gaming stuff.
Yeah, so page
We
three,
already
section
have a
4.
lot.
Yeah, we have enough as it is. I mean, it's one thing if you're nonprofit.
I hate to agree with Jeff, but it says, no coin-operated amusement device shall be operated as a gambling device or used for purposes of gambling.
Now, who read
But
this
the
ordinance
state-
besides me?
But the state laws, or lack thereof, would trump our
Correct.
ordinance anyway.
Correct. The Commonwealth, yep.
But you could still do this is a taxation ordinance. And you could still do a zoning ordinance if that was your desire.
I mean, we have the place up there, they're in the Tobacco
Foxes.
Alley, they're in Foxes.
The Elks have them, the Legion
The
have them.
private
but they
clubs,
don't,
that's not a
and
problem.
the private clubs have to do 60/40,
Mhm.
so they're donating a lot of their.
They are.
You know what? I say the more people that want to bring business in town, I mean, they're not hurting anybody. We go by there, they're quiet. As far as I know, I mean, maybe somebody else would disagree with that. I just say if you can get some people to purchase a couple properties up on Center Street and put something in like that, for gaming ordinances, and they remodel the place, rehabilitate it. I mean, it's improving the building, it's improving the property. But whatever, I can't see putting a lot of time in this myself, but if the council wants to move forward with it, we'll do it.
All right, ATV signs.
So Karen got a hold of DCNR, and I've been in communication with, and I can't remember his name, I just called him today. And I'm going through, which I didn't realize, Myers Avenue, which is why I asked you that, why there was that payback, we'll call it, when it is reverted back to reverted back to the borough. So that was good to know. I'm going through with him, looking at maps. Right now with the ordinance, every borough street avenue that intersects a state road has to have those signs on, okay? And my understanding is, and I'm double checking with him, is that DCNR pays for those signs. So I have to get to him the number of signs needed plus a map where those be put. They can be placed on the posts for the street signs where they're at. The one thing that DCNR tries to push, these signs are meant for, if you look at Berlin's signs, and this is one of the things I'm clarifying with him, those are actually ATV use only roadways, and they're on a joint purpose road. So all of our roadways in this borough are joint purpose, meaning, which is what that ordinance was, ATV use and automobiles, right? So he is going to be letting me know if we have to use a different sign, because when you read their reg, it talks about a different type of sign, which is supposed to stay joint use. And I don't know if that means they put a little happy ATV picture with a happy little automobile, with the slash in between or what, but I'll have those answers by the meeting, I'm sure.
Eric and Pat Murray and I, Tuesday night, and if you haven't done this, I urge council members to do it. Just take a ride over to Berlin. And I learned a lot as far as, I was thinking the signs, I knew we had to have a sign for each cross street, but I was thinking they had to each be on 219. But it's just the opposite of that. Like, say you're coming down 10th Avenue to my office. When you turn left or right to come down, the sign, at least this is the way they did it in Berlin, is facing, in other words, you see it when you turn down 10th Avenue, but it's facing the state road. It's not on the state road, which I was under misconception. But if you go over there, I mean, every cross street, they have those green signs. And then back, like, I believe it's maybe North Street or South Street, the one that the fire department's on. North Street, that's a borough road. And then like, it would be like Salisbury Street. We wouldn't need any signs on Salisbury Street. We would just need them on Beakley Street, Grant Street. Do we need Myers Avenue? Cherry Street.
It would be Myers, but it would be.
Lower Broadway, I don't know if I'm probably forgetting one of them. So, I mean, I talked to Brian already, and he already put our one signs up, so the good news is, I think, like somebody just said here, we might be able to utilize like a stop sign. You can maybe put this ATV sign facing the opposite direction that it's seen from Beakley Street, and over in Berlin. I mean, it seems like they have different, like some signs are on existing signs facing the other direction, if that makes sense. Some of them have their own separate pole that they had to put in.
And the public,
So, but I urge everybody, then you go ahead, just take an evening drive over and go through Berlin, and it will give you an idea of what we need to do here. I actually learned a lot by just seeing how they did it, assuming they did it correctly.
the public does need to be aware that although the borough has adopted that ordinance, that when crossing a state roadway, they have the procedures listed in the regulation, what they have to do and what they have to follow. And so even though what I'm getting at is, and I think people need to know this, that if they are not following the safety rules that DCNR has set out to cross a state roadway, regardless of this ordinance, regardless of those signs, they will get fines. And some of which go as far as with the state police, as far as, confiscating the vehicle, so.
And this is another thing which we'll discuss here, just so we're sure we're all on the same page legally. I had read an email from somebody, Karen, I think, said it. Our ordinance is not in effect right now. According to what I read, the ordinance does not come into effect until the signs are posted.
The ordinance is in effect on our borough roads, but nobody can cross the state road. And if you really want to get down to it, you can't get within the right of way of a state road. But when he says not in effect, at first I took exception to that, and then I realized what he meant. If the state police come into this borough now, even though we have the ordinance, without those signs, if people are crossing roadways or whatever, they could still get, ticketed by the state police. Now, of course, with the ordinance, they would be allowed on the borough road, but they can't cross any other roadways.
So I think we ought to try to get these signs, figure out how many we need, get them ordered, and we'll just have to put Brian as a priority to get the daggone things up, and then we're done.
I have one bit of good news on the side-by-sides. A business owner that owns a couple of properties in town met with my architect, and they, within a month, plan to file for their commercial permit. They're going to put a business in one of our empty buildings, so really excited. And largely because of the side-by-sides.
Community center rental.
The form that you sent out, Patty, that I forgot we had, it covers a lot of stuff. I don't know if you guys have actually read that she sent out. Yeah. I forgot completely we had it. And we use that at we have a separate one for the pavilion,
Yeah.
don't we? That's what I thought.
It's a little bit more simple because the same people will use the pavilion every summer for
Yeah.
family reunions and that.
When did you send out the one for here? I missed that.
I don't remember when I sent it out, but I think Mark asked for it and
Yeah.
I got it out with.
My middle of August is a little fuzzy, as you can imagine, but on both bookends of that, I can tell you. I know I received it, read it.
So do
I
all
read it.
for-profits have to provide insurance? That's what I want to make sure of.
I can't remember. I'd have to look at the language of that.
See, if you have a business, for-profit, then I think we have to verify that they have insurance. What about the Lions Club and the Pancake Shack?
Yeah, Blake does that.
They're covered and we're listed on, the Lions have insurance and lists us, I guess you'd say.
I would say so, yeah.
The food vending is a whole other step though too, because and that's why you see that.
But say, for example, someone's having like a closed event, like a birthday party or some kind of an event here in the gymnasium, and they're like an anniversary celebration or something. I mean, that event is basically closed to the public. The people who are having this, it's not like it's open, like if we'd have vendors in here, whether they're nonprofit or not. Someone, I think, should have insurance if they're having an event where you're inviting the whole community into a specific event. But if it's a birthday party or a class reunion, something that's a closed, you're actually inviting your friends or your family to that. I think that is different, and maybe I'm wrong. I'm no insurance agent.
I think the
But-
for-profit is the line that, the vendor fairs, like you say, exercise things, those sort of things. Not the school, not the birthday parties, not that stuff.
Do you check for insurances, or at this point, are we verifying that they have insurance, Patty?
I have not, no.
I mean, that's something that we
It
could
says here
discuss.
On the rental agreement, that a certificate of insurance, or security must be provided. And what you're gonna see a lot of, like, I know with the campgrounds and some of the other event places that I've represented, is your homeowner's insurance will cover to an extent for groups. But
If you do a rider,
it's not as easy to obtain family-wise as what it is for for-profit.
Well, I think we could maybe discuss this again Tuesday night and have someone, if council feels, make a motion that we authorize Patty, we ask Patty if she would verify that these people have insurances, if it's businesses.
It
Or
does have,
for-profit. And then if you have a question, send an email like to maybe Mark and I, or the entire council. We want transparency.
it
And
does,
just, go ahead, Mark.
it does have indemnification language in there, so, I mean, we do have, it's not as good as knowing. The only difference between the certificate of insurance, and I hate to say this, especially on a live broadcast, and not having it with the indemnification language in here, is who is gonna pay when the borough would get sued, because the borough gets sued no matter what. If we go after the homeowner, or whoever had it, or a business, it's always nice knowing they have insurance for coverage. So the language is in there, so that's at least a positive.
And I think we should keep a copy of the certificate of insurance on file. Just attach it to the contract.
Yeah, that's SOP. Do we need to do anything then Tuesday night? I mean, we already have the language in
Not
there.
really.
We could just suggest, Patty, that, or ask you to
I'll
get,
just have to look at it closer. All
Yeah.
the years that we've been renting it, mainly it was birthday parties and all. It was just over the last couple of years, you had the festival, had those, what do they call those, where they get different vendors
vendor
in.
fairs.
Yeah,
but that's through the Maple Festival, or not? So the
the
Maple,
Maple Festival rents it and has an open event for people to come in.
but we would be covered under the Maple Festival insurance there, if it's that event.
I never got copies of those.
Well,
But I should have, but I didn't.
I think there'll be a higher demand to use the community center now that the floor's redone and stuff. I think it's different times. People were so
I think we
happy.
should, just if somebody, the Maple Festival, or they had an event in here, there were a bunch of crafts. If somebody's renting it, whoever is the rentor needs to have insurance listing the borough. I mean, that's my feeling. Maybe other council members disagree, but,
I
I
think
mean,
people need to be aware that if you put a rider on your homeowner's We've done it before for them. Birthday parties, honestly, but that was because of alcohol. And it's not that much.
No.
I'm telling you, $25, $50.
And we don't
It wasn't-
permit alcohol in here
Yeah,
anyway.
so
I don't
you
think we
wouldn't,
It
you
was
do,
in
know.
there.
supposedly.
Yeah, that's a big supposedly.
I mean, a lot of weddings, whether you guys realize it or not, or your own wedding was this way. A lot of weddings, whoever is the party in charge, so to speak, the homeowner's insurance of that group typically covers any of the injuries that occur. So,
Maybe as a suggestion, if we don't need a motion, Mark, maybe in your your lawyer's report, your solicitor's report, you could just make noted that, announce that council discussed this. I think coming from you would be appropriate, and just list the specific individuals or organizations and who's gonna have to provide insurance, and the people watching over the closed circuit television will, hear it, and I think that'd be a good thing. Any objections?
We can check with our insurance company also, see what we have, what coverage we have.
I think we've done that before. We do have fairly new check again, but I know the past when I've asked Patty about that, I know we have fairly substantial coverage, never hurts to look though.
Did that deal with the class? I think I pulled the muscle back.
All right, the last one is Stippen for Emergency Managed Coordinator.
Okay, I was discussing this. We're gonna be asked to approve our emergency management plan. And Kevin Broadwater has done this for us for free for years and years and years. I actually talked to his wife a little bit earlier in the week. I think he needs to be paid for this service. I mean, we would be really up the creek without Kevin's service. He does an excellent job. He does other smaller municipalities too. So Patty and I had discussed this, and I just think.
Let me just build off of that. The
Okay.
email that Patty sent out about the flood control and the changes that are gonna go on with that have already begun. I think it is imperative that you have that and have that as whatever it pays for that position, because he's gonna be called on more with that, and I think it's improper to keep asking him to do.
He out of the blue, and I don't know where this came from, I mean, he's a relative, obviously. But on August 12th, Kevin sent me an email, and it says, last emergency access plan done by AEG Kevin Yoder was dated 12th of April 2019, not 2007.
Mhm.
Just FYI.
Yeah, but we have another one which we have to approve here, and he's gonna actually be at the meeting. I had said, Patty and I had said maybe $500, and Patty's felt, and I agree with Patty, maybe $1,000.
I think that's.
He is doing a wonderful job. They have courses they have to go to, and his wife said, well, you could offer it, but he's gonna say no. But then I said, well, then he can give it to the church or whatever he wants to do with it, but I would feel better that we would reimburse him, and that would be something that, I'll just throw out, how does everybody feel about offering him $1,000? Not offering, making a motion that we just pay him, for these services, and then we can discuss it in the open session on Tuesday night and make the motion, whatever council feels.
You have to add to the budget line. You have to add that to the budget? Okay.
Yeah, figure out how to.
Go around the table and everybody just give their 2 cents, and then we can see if there's support for that or not, but.
Yeah, I'm all for it. I mean, that's a lot of time he puts into this.
I agree.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
So no one's really opposed? You put that on the agenda already, we'll discuss that.
Yeah, I think it's on the.
He'll say no, and we'll say, well,
Yeah,
here.
but he had a lot of time on the last one because we had to go through that whole sandbag thing. We had to look at alternative flood control measures. There was a lot of different things that were very time consuming.
Has anybody talked to Pat about the flood control?
I haven't recently, no.
Dan, the last thing, I don't know if you want to comment or not, I'll just throw this out. The Wi-Fi is pretty well completed now. Up there, that little beam that's sending out the signal, I think Sean and Dan are to be commended. Hopefully Sean will be able to be at the meeting and we can get a report. Do you have anything you'd like to say, Dan, or? This is our test run, so we'll see how we're live right now as far as you know. Is that right? On YouTube. So I think it's something, and I'll just say this yet. Back years ago, we had the Daily American sitting here. Sometimes we had Meyersdale paper, and what we did, the good works that this borough council has done and is doing, it was in the newspaper. People knew what was going on. Now, we have no Meyersdale paper.
And all the good quotes.
Yeah, right. And the Daily American, they don't cover school boards or any local government anymore. So I was surprised between the two different live streams and the number of people that are interested in local government. So that's why this borough council decided we want to move forward, upgrade the Wi-Fi and try to broadcast these live on YouTube. If you're on Facebook, go to the Meyersdale events website and then click on that link and it'll take you to our YouTube site, or just go to Meyersdale Borough and on YouTube and you'll be able to see the meetings. You can just click on them and watch them at your leisure. So you guys, thanks a lot, Dan. You've put a lot of time in this, and some of it paid, but most of it volunteered. So thank you very much. Anything else, Terry?
No, that's it.
Okay, then I guess that's it. We really don't need a motion to adjourn a committee meetings, I guess. So we'll see you all Tuesday night, September 10th.